The real purpose of a monolingual transition, and I will tell you first, it is not overrated. I honestly made this video after watching Levakivi's video, and I agree with most of the points he made on the video, so why I'm making this? Because I think he missed one very important point when it comes to this topic. Monolingual dictionaries are specifically for getting used to the language. That's it. I'm Ivan, Spanish native with 3+ years in English, Japanese for 17 months, and as an athlete, you will not find another channel which talks about real discipline in language learning. So the first point is getting used to the language. You can't argue this with me. Literally, if you use a monolingual dictionary, you will just get way more used to the language in the sense that you are not depending on your mother tongue. So there's a couple of caveats here when you use a monolingual transition, which is spending too much time when reviewing words. So this happens a lot, especially if you review a word like sink. If you use a monolingual dictionary in a word like sink, it will probably not be useful. So what I specifically do is that I used first the monolingual dictionary, and literally if I didn't understand at least the gist of the word, so for example, let's say I'm reviewing a word which could be a flower, and if I don't understand that it's a flower in 3 to 4 seconds, I will literally watch the English definition. Now, there's another very important point, which is that people get stuck at the phase of outputting in a language. And what can get you out of getting stuck at this phase is using a monolingual dictionary, because you can't argue with me that if you use the language 24/7, there's way more probability that you're going to literally end up outputting some things throughout the day. I know that Likibaki didn't use monolingual dictionaries when he was acquiring English, and on most of the part, I agree that it is not necessary, but it definitely will get you more used to the language, which will end up making you output faster. That is just something that makes sense. When you were a baby, babies did not use a bilingual dictionary because they don't know more than one language, and so they end up learning the language in a pretty good way. Now, there's another point which I want to make here, which is mining Anki cards inside of concept explanations. This is honestly very good if you are at that phase in which you have more than 14,000 cards, 16,000 cards, which is the point I'm at right now. And honestly, you can just find that much amount of words when it comes to like watching anime or Japanese drama, even reading a book. But like at the point I'm at right now, in which I have more than 15,000 words in Anki, I think, using a monolingual dictionary and mining cards inside of it to help your mining will be honestly much more efficient. You can argue here that you can literally just use a pre-made deck, and this will help you to literally not waste time mining cards. But like when you use a pre-made mining deck, it is honestly not as efficient as mining, because there's not that much probability that you will find that word during your immersion. And if you mine cards inside of concept explanations that you reviewed when you were doing immersion, there are way more probabilities that you will find that card during your immersion, and so that's why I recommend a lot using monolingual dictionaries. Missing out on concept explanations. So there's words that are only used in monolingual explanations of a concept. If you're a person who wants to be able to read almost every article you see in the internet or every study you see in the internet, which if you don't want, it's totally fine. They know that there's people who want to be able to do that. You will only find just so much in your immersion content, and a big step to getting used to reading whatever thing that you want to encounter yourself with is using monolingual dictionaries. And also, if you want to understand when someone is explaining something to you and maybe it is not a very easy concept, honestly, you want to use monolingual dictionaries, because not at every part of your life you will find someone who will explain something to you, person who is learning Japanese, in a very simple manner so you can actually understand. Yes, don't use just monolingual dictionaries. So if you just use monolingual dictionaries, it is kind of retarded in my opinion, because there's words like sink, and if you see the word sink in Japanese, it's going to be literally a paragraph of 15 to 18 lines explaining what fucking sink is. Now, if you want to mine cards inside of that concept, that's when you want to use a monolingual dictionary for concepts like sink or things of the like, right? The monolingual transition does not look how you think it looks, so there's a lot of people that think that you just have to use the monolingual dictionary in Japanese and that's it. You don't have to never use English again, and in reality, Japanese monolingual dictionaries are kind of bullshit in the sense that most of the time you need to learn new kanjis in order to understand a concept, and so for you to actually understand a concept you need to learn 3 words inside of that same concept, so it's kind of bullshit, right? But for other languages like, I don't know, English, Italian, right, languages that use the Roman alphabet, monolingual dictionaries are actually very good, because you don't need to learn a lot of words to understand the concept explanation inside of that monolingual definition. So the point I'm trying to make here is that everything in Libakibi's video is good when it comes to just learning Japanese, and that's probably what he intended. But when it comes to other languages, Italian, German, using a monolingual dictionary will never slow your progress down. I do even think that using monolingual dictionaries in languages that have the same Roman alphabet will probably make you have way more progress. Check the first link in the description and engage with this content if you want more people to know about this. Thank you.